The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Tonight on Politics Now, filling the gap, the push to keep feeding Nevadans on food stamps if federal funding runs out.
They were the most pessimistic they've ever been, except the Great Recession.
Lacking confidence. UNLV's economic analysts say local business owners do not feel good about our economy. We'll break down the research. Plus, nuclear weapons testing. President Trump wants to bring it back. We'll look at testing today and what it would mean if explosive testing returned to Nevada.
You're watching Politics Now with John Langler on 8 News Now.
Thank you very much for joining us. No progress on the federal government shutdown. That means 500,000 Nevadans have lost their access now to SNAP food benefits. Federal funding run out Saturday. This week, Nevada lawmakers did try and fill that funding gap. The Interim Finance Committee approved a $38.5 million plan to support local food banks. It allows them to buy supplies for those in need. Payments have already started. Food pickup locations are scattered around the valley. Still, Three Square Food Bank thinks it'll take up to 12 weeks for that state money to kick in.
These resources are meaningful, and we will move as quickly as possible to get them into the community. But I'm always going to be honest, this is not enough to meet the need. And there's probably no way that philanthropy can fill this gap. The answer is to reopen the government and run these programs as intended.
Again, SNAP is federally funded and the government is closed. That kind of puts an end to that. The National Guard is also helping distribute food. Social Services says it will alert people on SNAP through text messages, social media posts, and with signs. Democratic Assembly Speaker Steve Yeager wants to declare a fiscal emergency. That would allow Nevada to use its rainy day account to help local food banks. Right now, the governor's office thinks that's unnecessary. It would require a special session, though, to tap into those rainy day funds. This week, the debate over SNAP benefits and the shutdown spilled into a charter school event. Governor Joe Lombardo and Democratic Congresswoman Susie Lee argued about the benefits being cut off. 8 News Now education reporter Joshua Peguero was there.
In order for food banks to meet the need of Nevadans, the 495,000 Nevadans, they would need approximately $270 million. And this state is giving them, what, 39?
Governor Joe Lombardo says that money would go to food banks for what he's calling the Food Insecurity Nevada Plan. And the Nevada National Guard would assist in distributing food. Lee says the Trump administration is creating roadblocks.
This is created by Donald Trump and the Trump administration, not allowing the data to be used so that SNAP benefits can be distributed.
SNAP benefits are 100% federally funded, with the federal government sending Nevada approximately $90 million a month. Lombardo says his hands are tied on what he can do.
It's administered by the feds through a third-party vendor. I'm not turning a blind eye. This is not satisfactory to me, to the tune of $40 million. Obviously, that still bothers me.
On Democrats' calls for President Trump to hand out USDA contingency funds, Lombardo says he asked.
That was a request that we had made, and we were advised that would not happen.
23 attorneys general, including Aaron Ford, are suing the president over that money.
My lane is a legal one, and I am doing all that I can through my legal lens to protect Nevadans.
That was Joshua Peguero reporting. Attorney General Aaron Ford, you just heard from there. He is running against Joe Lombardo right now in the gubernatorial race. SNAP benefits don't only run out in Nevada. Of course, senators have left Washington, D.C. for the weekend without reopening the government or passing legislation to keep that food assistance funded. Some senators are frustrated the Senate isn't being kept in town over the weekend. They say there are talks happening outside of Senate leadership to reopen the government. Washington, D.C. correspondent Kristen Esco has that update.
Food banks are preparing for a surge in demand as funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program will be suspended for the first time in the program's history. Although lawmakers from both parties have drafted bills to keep SNAP funded during the shutdown, none have received a vote. Republican Senator Josh Hawley introduced one of them.
I feel bad because 42 million people are not going to be able to eat this weekend.
Democrats have blasted Republican congressional leaders.
Ripping food away from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, families, women, and veterans, and using them as a political point, that's policy violence.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune has argued against funding individual programs, accusing Democrats of trying to prolong the shutdown.
Are there any consequences bad enough to get Democrats to reopen the government again?
As Leader Thune made the motion to adjourn the Senate for the weekend, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski objected to their departure.
All those opposed, no.
No. She says progress is being made among rank-and-file senators toward reopening the government.
There's been a significant uptick in bipartisan conversation.
Meanwhile, Democrats have been fighting to extend tax credits tied to the Affordable Care Act, warning that premiums will rise significantly. Open enrollment on the exchange begins November 1st, so it's underway now. Nevada's Division of Insurance says they expect the average plan to go up 26%, even if the tax credits are extended. So the shutdown and the SNAP benefit challenge we've been seeing here, it comes as Nevada sees more bad tourism news. Take a look at your screen here. This week, Gaming Control released its September numbers. Gambling revenue was down a little more than 2% from last year. The Strip saw the biggest drop, mostly due to a 43% decline in high-end baccarat. The LVCVA reported a 9% decline in visitation after double-digit drops in June and July. Passenger volume at Reed International Airport also declined in September. So with all of that going on, the shutdown, the tariffs, national media calling Las Vegas too expensive, our economy is struggling right now. And those new numbers, of course, are another indication of that. This week, I spoke with the director of UNLV's Center for Business and Economic Research, Andrew Woods. First of all, this week we saw the monthly numbers from LVCVA, from the airport. We had the latest gaming numbers, and they all, for the most part, are going down. Is that just a number that is scary to see for those who live in the community, or is it maybe a trend? Is it part of routine for it to go down this time of year? What are your takeaways from some of that hard data that was released this week?
Sure, and we've been monitoring it all summer and keeping a close eye on it. For us, the way we're framing this is that we are facing a different consumer out there. The good news is consumers are still spending. That's clear from the data that we get from both private and public sector data. You know, GDP continues to grow in the country. We're not in a recession. We're not forecasting a recession. But consumers are a lot more discerning with their budgets, particularly for middle and lower income consumers. Their wallets and their ability, their budgets have been stretched because of inflation and continued inflation in the last several years. So they are being much more thrifty in how they're spending.
How can an economy, a Strip group, readjust, recalibrate their pricing when it's been a certain way for so long? It's kind of big to go back to the days when the Strip was a budget outlet.
Well, and I'm not necessarily saying they should go back to when it was just a budget outlet either, right? I think it's about value is the word I'm sure they're using. They've got very smart people that work on the Strip and work on this every day, all day and all night. But I look at places like Disneyland, and they're still reporting very strong demand and visitations. It's just that people aren't necessarily then going to Universal Studios as well. They're planning their whole vacation around just Disneyland. Or that you look at Six Flags, which is more of a day trip kind of theme park. They're struggling because people, again, are putting aside the day trips, but planning larger vacations. We need to continue to give the consumer confidence that when they come to Vegas and they plan that big vacation, they're getting the value, and they're not expecting to pay low prices. They're just expecting to get what they think is their money's worth for their vacation.
Your third quarter business survey of confidence, business confidence, and at that moment, business owners seemed like they were a little bit confident. It was improving a little bit, that things weren't as bad as they thought it was going to be. Fourth quarter, we're in the fourth quarter right now. What has the center been able to find out?
Sure. Well, and I appreciate you bringing it up. So we haven't released it, but we will in the next few days. We surveyed businesses in September, which we do on a quarterly basis, and we found that the reading from businesses, they were the most pessimistic they've ever been, except the Great Recession, and that was in the middle of the Great Recession. So their confidence in the economy has fallen sharply. A lot of this is being driven by the national kind of narrative, so not necessarily the local narrative, but the uncertainty factor, it continues to get ratcheted up. And then how they make those decisions around uncertainty. We've been talking to local businesses in the community quietly just to get a sense of like how are they adjusting to, yes, maybe tariffs, but just the uncertainty, to higher prices, to higher wages, and also employment. And what we get is that they are, they've been able to manage up until this point pretty well, but the costs continue to compound, and the uncertainty doesn't necessarily give them confidence to invest.
Is there anything positive? When we talk about the effect of the tariffs, the shutdown, these gaming numbers, your survey of business owners in the Valley, is there any hope? Is there any bright light in the economy in Southern Nevada right now?
Yeah, for sure. You just got to ask the right question. I'll give you the answer you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the highlights, some of the positivity that is going on right now?
Sure. I mean, short term, with the things that we're seeing on the Strip, I think a lot of that will get smoothed over. I think the Strip will adjust, and also I think we've got a really good lineup through this fall and early next year, and we'll see those visitation numbers start to come back up. And we heard that in some of the earnings reports this past week. But one other bright spot, I mean, there's many bright spots, but one that we are highlighting that we're getting out before the end of the year that I'm happy to share is that we've been looking at entrepreneurship and new business creation since the pandemic. And we found that Nevada in particular was the third fastest growing state for new businesses with employees. So these are not just businesses that were like an S Corp and it's just myself and maybe I'm doing some food delivery and making money on the side, but this was actually a business that hired employees.
You can read a lot more about UNLV's new business outlook in that study right now at 8newsnow.com. From the 8 News Now investigators, a Nevada state senator accused of drunk driving is now officially charged with that crime. Metro Police arrested Democratic State Senator Edgar Flores back in September near Lake Mead and Lamb. Test results show his blood alcohol level was slightly above the legal limit. Flores allegedly told officers he was tired and drank a beer before officers found him asleep in his car. He'll be in court in January. So why does it take so long to prosecute these cases? Clark County schedules DUI cases months out. It takes police time to process blood taken from an arrest. In March, for example, it took Metro Police 55 days to process blood. After 8 News Now reported on this issue, the time frame dropped to 29 days. Prosecutors also take time to review the cases and just file the charges. Next here on Politics Now, testing new treatments. We'll look at a relatively new method to help patients who are battling mental illness and how state law could make it more prevalent. Plus, nuclear weapon testing. President Trump wants more. We'll look at what's done now in Nevada.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
This week, President Donald Trump announced the return, he says, of nuclear weapon tests. He wants it to move at the same pace as China and Russia's tests. Of course, Nevada has a long history with nuclear testing. More than 900 bombs exploded near Las Vegas back during the Cold War, and it left a lasting scar. As 8 News Now reporter Sasha Loftus explains, other types of nuclear weapons tests never really stopped.
We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing.
President Trump making an announcement on nuclear testing. As many know, Nevada was our country's main site for explosive nuclear tests until 1992. So the news has many here at home wondering what this means.
What we are doing in Nevada is working.
Nevada Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen speaking on the update during Thursday's confirmation hearing for the nominee to be commander of U.S. Strategic Command, Vice Admiral Richard Corral.
Tell us, in your expert opinion, are explosive nuclear tests necessary? Yes or no?
Senator, I'd be happy to schedule a follow-on briefing in a classified setting to have a discussion about testing.
Senator Rosen asking questions about the current way our nuclear stockpile is tested at the Nevada National Security Site outside of Las Vegas. It's called non-explosive subcritical testing. Weapons are tested and certified 1,000 feet underground in what's called the Pulse facility. Admiral Corral answering questions on whether he believes that current process is effective here in our state.
The adequacy and efficacy of the nuclear weapons stockpile is certified on an annual basis.
And do you trust in those tests?
And it was certified satisfactorily, and I do trust that assessment.
Now, as Sasha Loftus reporting, President Trump gave no specifics on what he meant by nuclear testing. Senator Rosen and other Nevada Democrats in Congress have vowed to stop any effort to resume explosive tests here. The president made his comments on nuclear weapon testing during his visit to Asia. And this week, after months of tariff threats and economic turmoil, the president secured a new trade deal with China. Mr. Trump says China is now committed to buying American soybeans, among other things, and in exchange, China will speak with American chipmaker NVIDIA about some form of trade there. The U.S. previously restricted Chinese access to NVIDIA's products. This agreement appears to lower the escalating tariff talk between both countries. In the last legislative session, lawmakers passed a bill to expand a unique form of mental health treatment. It established reporting requirements for electroconvulsive therapy, using electromagnetic brain pulses to help treat depression. This week we discussed this with a psychiatrist from Nevada Mental Health. Now on Politics Now, we're talking mental health therapy and treatment, but there is a political component to this, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm joined by Dr. Natalie Phan from Nevada Mental Health. First of all, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking about transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. So a lot of stuff there. Explain just what that is. What is TMS?
TMS is another alternative treatment option for patients with what we call treatment-resistant depression or difficult to treat depression. It's just a non-invasive, drug-free method for patients to get treatment for their depression or even OCD, which is also FDA approved, and then nicotine use as well. With depression, it's because your left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is underactive. The helmet helps us activate that up again, and so that's how we would treat that. But each session varies between like 20 to 40 minutes, kind of just depending which protocol you do, and then sessions are over a span of a few weeks.
The idea is that the magnetic field sort of activate, or the magnets activate your brain. Help me understand how the magnet would work once it's on the patient.
So when your brain, it runs on an electrical field. The helmet helps reset that electrical field so that the area that's responsible for the depression can work appropriately.
How much more frequent is TMS treatment in the mental health world right now? Is it becoming more utilized versus drugs versus some other kinds of methods to help people with their mental illness?
I think it's being used more because, one, we're talking about mental illness a whole lot more than we were before. And then I think patients are saying, you know what, like I don't want to have to take medications anymore, or I'm having side effects and I'm not feeling better, or it's not effective for me. So this is a way for patients to get treatment that's drug-free and it's not invasive. So I think we're going to be seeing it a whole lot more.
It's a very interesting idea and a very interesting practice. We'll see where it goes. Dr. Natalie Phan from Nevada Mental Health, thank you very much for talking about transcranial magnetic stimulation. I appreciate the time. Thank you. It is a mouthful. The legislature's bill requires programs to submit their findings to them. Dr. Phan says that could limit a provider's ability to treat patients. We'll see where it goes. Next year on Politics Now, cuts at CCSD, how low enrollment could cause layoffs across the school district. Plus, national Republicans here in Las Vegas, a major convention that could come to the Valley next year.
You're watching Politics Now.
Enrollment is dropping across Clark County School District with fewer students. Administrators say they need fewer staff. In the last 3 years, CCSD's lost almost 30,000 students. At the same time, charter school enrollment is going up by almost the same amount, and that's something Republican Governor Joe Lombardo does support.
There is a significant decrease in enrollment, but it's not just Clark County, it's statewide. What is that phenomenon? Is it birth rates? Is it immigration issues? Is it the fear of immigration?
So about 60% of CCSD schools have now cut their budgets because of lower projected enrollment. That's a statement there from CCSD you just saw on your screen there. In a letter, the district says 97 support professionals are now being considered for cuts. That's less than 1% of the support staff, but not all of them will be fired. The Wall Street Journal reports Las Vegas may host a rare midterm convention for the Republican Party. Political conventions are usually only held during presidential election years. This one would be held here next year, potentially. Advisors close to President Trump reportedly want the event to help shore up GOP support during the midterms. However, the Wall Street Journal does not give a timeline for actually choosing a host city. Nevada Democrats are taking another crack at being the first state to vote in a presidential primary. This week, the DNC adopted its new rules for which state will pick first, and they mirror past years, highlighting things like diversity and union membership. Nevada was the second state to vote in the Democratic primary in 2024. This time, state Democrats hope to jump up one more spot. The actual vote on the order of voting is expected sometime towards the end of next year. We're back after this.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Tonight, Nevada is 161 years old. Yesterday, the state celebrated its birthday, Nevada Day, of course. It marks the moment we officially became a state after our Constitution was approved by President Lincoln. By the way, that document is 16,043 words. At the time, it was the longest and most expensive telegraph in history. In fact, this is a picture of it in the state archives up in Carson City. It was only eventually surpassed by an English version of the New Testament. In fact, the message so long, it even suspended the receipt of war messages for more than 5 hours way back in 1861. The National Christmas Tree was shown off in Reno before it starts its journey to Washington, D.C. You see it right there. It's being stored at the Air National Guard base right now. It's a 53-foot red fir from the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. It's named Silver Bell. The tree was also at the Nevada Day Parade in Carson City before starting the drive east. Well, that'll do it for us this week here on Politics Now. For the latest in political news, it's 8newsnow.com. We'll see you right back here next week. Take care.